Would you look at this weather? It is beautiful out here. Summer has busted out in the northern hemisphere, and that means it's time to get Bella the Boler out of storage, and we're going to start doing a little bit more camping content here as the weather warms up. So come along and let's see what we got to do to get her home here today. Just doing a quick walk around here to see how she survived the winter months. Everything looks intact. I was out here last week and checked on a few things. Didn't notice any nasty surprises on the outside. Things seem to have weathered okay. No evidence of mice. The bed's currently folded up into its couch position, which is a reminder of one of the things I need to do before we head out, or we'll see, hopefully before we head out, is replace the water pump that was giving us some intermittent problems last year. It's a good thing I remembered to come inside first, secure the fridge into the travel position. So that's good. Everything inside's pretty easy. Let's head outside and see what we got to do to get her ready to get on the road for the first time. And I guess the first thing will be to get these tire covers off. I am a very big fan of covering my tires when they're not in use. It's just one of those things that helps extend the life of the rubber. RV tires in general do not fail due to tread depth or wearing out that way. It's usually as a result of UV damage and dry rot, things like that. And these ones here have a date code. They were manufactured in 2020. I got no sign of cracking or anything. Those are good. Hopefully we're as lucky on this side. Sometimes I just have to remember how to get these off. The little cords sometimes end up in inconvenient positions, which is the case this time. This one ended up down in the mud. We had a lot of rain earlier this week, so the ground is pretty soft here. There we go. So that's a good start. Next thing I'm going to do, get the battery on the front, because you can't legally tow a trailer like this without a battery, because the battery is what would operate and activate the breakaway switch should it ever become decoupled from the truck. So that's my next project. So I got the battery box sitting there. It's not strapped down yet. I got to hook it up and get the connections on and then get that going. Now I'm really bad because at least this year or last fall, I remembered to tape the wires that come from the solar panel to the appropriate lead so I know they're hooked up right. I do believe that in a 12-volt system like this, black is usually positive and the white is usually negative. So let's see what happens. Okay. Black to positive. And white to negative. Let's see if we get any sparking or... Nothing blew up. That's a good sign. And I have had this battery on a battery maintainer inside my garage all winter. So it is fully charged. So I guess, let's see if we've got any power inside. See if I can remember where the lights are. Yep, we've got lights. That's a good sign. So far, this is going better than I anticipated. Usually, when I go to get Bella out of storage the first time, I forget something. Now, mind you, we still got a ways to go, and I'm not done yet, so stick around. So I did get the battery strapped down using this battery lock from California Immobilizers, Canadian company, despite the name. Not sponsored. That battery lock fits on there really tight. It's almost, you almost need 3 hands to do it. One on each of the ends to squeeze them together, and then a third hand to turn the key. I didn't record that because I've only got 2 hands, but I managed to struggle and get it on. I did bring a bungee cord or a ratchet strap with me in case I couldn't get that on myself, just so that I could transport without the battery flying down the highway. And I'll show you another new little gadget I picked up over the winter. I don't even remember what this one's called, but it's like a quick hitch or something like that. And it's basically this bracket handle that bolts onto your hitch so that you can slide it in and out. You have a convenient place to grab it and carry it, because otherwise there's nowhere to really grab this ball mount. And now for probably the hardest part of hooking up a travel trailer solo, trying to line up the coupler of the trailer with the ball on the truck. This should be good for some laughs. And when all else fails, there's nothing wrong with using the goal method, which is get out and look. Oh, I can work with that. Right on. Now I did just replace this tongue jack last year, and I haven't had a chance to tighten up everything, like the bolts on the handle and things, so okay, that worked easier than I expected. Let's see if we can't. I should be able, with a trailer this light, be able to just move this into position. Oh yeah, like it was meant to go there. And now with this hitch, to get the weight distribution bars in place, I need to really crank that hitch up high and lift the truck and the trailer, which also has the added benefit of confirming to me that that ball is coupled to the trailer properly. If I start cranking the trailer up and the truck doesn't come with it, I'm not hitched. And this is probably how I managed, or why the old hitch stripped out. There's a lot of weight that goes into getting this up high enough to put the bars on. And I don't know if that's my setup of this hitch or if that's just how this hitch operates, but I'm not necessarily a fan. It tends to be pretty loud. Not so bad on that side. Of course, I forgot my tool to snap them into place. that one's almost gonna go. Excellent. I need to get another one of these. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I kind of bent it up last year. Ooh, that went on nice. I don't remember them ever working that easy last year. Look at that. Piece of cake. Oh yeah, and don't leave this on the bumper. Now that the bars are in place, these little L brackets go in and just get pinned there. And it's this friction of this surface and this surface here that basically act as sway control built into this hitch. And if you've watched the channel for any length of a time, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you'll remember a video I did where I first installed this hitch on the truck. Safety hook there to make sure that latch doesn't accidentally pop up. Now we crank her down. Okay, couple last steps. Hook up our 7-way connector. Snap that in. Unhook our safety chains from where they've been stored for the winter. Hook these up. You always want to cross your chains under your ball hitch, so that way if the unthinkable happens and somehow this ball mount comes out of the hitch receiver, it'll just drop and get caught in the chains. It won't land on the highway and drag along. Got my breakaway cable here, which just needs to attach somewhere on the truck there. That's the breakaway actuator there. Should the trailer become detached, this cable pulls and this activates the trailer brake. So that's why you always have to have an electric battery on your trailer, a battery on your trailer, because if it needs to activate the brakes, the odds are that your 7-way plug will have become detached as well. And so you can't count on the vehicle's power to operate the trailer brakes like it normally does. I am not going to mess with the propane tanks. I left those at home. I can put them on this weekend. Turn on the hazard lights and do my walk around to make sure the lights are all working. And in this case, they are not. So having traveled out of the storage lot, I'm just coming back to do a quick double check on everything. Make sure I didn't overlook anything. Everything's still in good position. Plus I wanted to wait for the gate to close behind me so I know nobody gets into the storage lot using my key card. I should have brought a tire pressure gauge to check the pressure on those tires, but I did not. But they look good and it's not that far to home, so we're gonna call that good and head out on the highway. One thing I did forget, I knew there had to be something. I forgot to bring my trailer mirrors. So I don't have the best visibility behind me. But again, it's a short trip. I should be able to make it okay. Okay, so it's a couple days later. Got the trailer home successfully, sitting out on the driveway there. Gotta get ready to get it going for the weekend. So that's gonna be the next portion here. So my first order of business is to get that handle on the hand jack tightened up properly, and it looks like it's an 11/16, and believe it or not, I actually found an 11/16 socket. I didn't know I had one. I'm not super well acquainted when it comes to tools, so that's a pleasant surprise. Need to go get a few things from the backyard. Propane tanks. No, Mabel, you stay inside. You stay in the yard. Now, it is on my list of things to do this year to replace this old regulator with a new auto changeover one, but that's going to be more of a project than I'm prepared to tackle before this coming weekend. So I'm just kind of giving these propane lines a quick once over, make sure they're still in good condition, not hard or cracked or anything like that. Just a quick visual, they seem okay. Got those on there. Connections are hand tight. Get this bar in place. Turn them both on here and pressurize the system. I think this is the tank that I was using at the end of last season, so that's going to be the one I run off of. Now, one of the things that broke last year was the igniter on the inside for the fridge. So I actually have to ignite the fridge from the outside. Which isn't the worst thing, other than I need to get another thumb screw here so that I can open this by hand. It was funny, prior to the igniter inside breaking, the little sight glass had broken, which allows you to see if the flame is lit. So a lot of our flame lighting was Emily inside clicking the igniter over and over. Or more accurately, I guess it was me inside clicking the igniter over and over and asking her if she heard it start catching flame yet. So doing it from out here, it becomes a one-person operation. Just checking inside here. No sign of animal intrusion or anything, and everything still looks good. Oh, I thought I saw a spider. No spider. Everything's pretty clean. So for a 47-year-old fridge, not bad. Okay, so I went inside, turned on all the burners on the stove, ran propane through the lines to get all the air out, and now I got to see if I remember how to do this from the outside. This is the igniter. This is the part that's broken inside, so I can no longer open this valve from inside and then hit it with some flame. So I think that ignited. I'm going to put the microphone really close. Hopefully you could hear that. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera here, but just inside that little hole there's a blue flame. So now when I take my hand off of this gas valve or igniter and it stays lit, the fridge is now cooling. And it's kind of funny because last year I always thought it ran better and more efficiently off of propane than electricity, But it seems to me when we were in Medicine Hat at the Boler rally and it was super hot, that when I actually flipped the fridge to electric, it ran better. So I'm going to test it both ways before we head out. I'm starting it with the propane because I know that works, and then I'll flip it to electric in a day or two once I'm sure the propane is working, because no point in burning propane if I can just use the electricity from the house. All right, now it's time to look at our first actual repair project, and that's the water pump. First thing I gotta do is move these cushions so I can access the water pump. Try and do it without knocking the camera or myself over. Okay. This is the part that folds out, make into the bed. Okay. So the nice thing is the pump's nice and easy to get at and work with down there. Trying to get an idea of what I'm gonna need. It looks like Robertson screwdriver to get it off the floor. Everything else should be fairly straightforward. I seem to recall last year I had a problem with one of these fittings that I may have stripped as well, but the new pump will have new fittings. And then it's just a little bit of wiring. So simple, even I should be able to figure it out. Famous last words. So of course, the one screwdriver bit that I found that fits doesn't actually fit any of the screwdrivers I have, so I'm improvising a fix here. Oh, got it. Fortunately, there was only 3 screws. 2 of them were the same, one of them was different, but at least the same screwdriver worked on all of them. So the pump's now loose and ready to come out, other than for the electrical and plumbing fittings, which means it's not really ready to come out at all. But forgive me, it's really hot in here, so I'm probably not thinking straight. So there's a look at the pump. And like I said, electrically, there's one wire there, one wire there. So all I got to do is undo those 2, and out it comes. Okay, so it's not in its permanent position. It's not mounted. I haven't made the electrical connections, but well, she powers up. Let's see if it'll pump water. Okay, now I know I'm not crazy because I just showed you on video that it powered up. I plugged in the, or hooked up the 2 plumbing fittings, flipped the switch, nothing happened. It's dead. Okay, so I hooked the alligator clip to the black wire, turned the switch on, and you can clearly see my test light indicates I have power, but it's not running the pump for some reason. Now, I was just playing with it again, and it works again. Okay, weird. Okay, hook up the plumbing fittings. Nothing. Maybe because there's no water in the system, but you'd think it would be trying to pull water by priming itself. Weird. Well, you know, I don't have a good answer right now. I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm going to fill the tank with water tomorrow and try it and see if it's the fact that there's no water and it's in some sort of protection mode, because the switch is working, the test light keeps coming on and off. Pump seems to work when it's not hooked up to plumbing, but as soon as it's hooked up to plumbing, it won't fire up. So that's enough for today. It's still really hot in here and I'm tired, so we'll continue this tomorrow. All right, welcome back to what's essentially the 3rd part of this video. Continuing the water pump problems. I was not able to get that other pump that I was installing to work consistently. Now, in fairness, it was returned to work by someone who said it was defective, so we exchanged it, and I hooked it up to a battery in the office, and it started pumping right away. So I figured it was just user error and the pump was fine, but it would work sometimes, wouldn't work other times. So I finally gave up. And after this whole mess back here, I have put the original pump back into place. Now, the original pump had some issues where it seemed like it would overheat and then stop working. So I don't know what's going on. I think I'm just going to leave this one in place. I'll probably buy another water pump and just have it on hand in case this one completely fails. But I think I may just leave it for now because it actually works. So that's good. I've got the garden hose hooked up to the fresh tank fill, and I'm just basically letting the fresh tank slowly fill, both to get it ready for the weekend and for our dewinterizing. So there's going to be a lot of air to get out, and that'll be a good test for this pump. There's nearly not a lot to dewinterizing this trailer. I mean, it's basically the toilet, the kitchen sink, and the bathroom shower, and that's it. So I don't have a whole lot to do here other than run water through it until it runs clear. Now, I'm just checking the fridge. I can see it's trying to cool down. It is not super cool in there. I'm not exactly perfectly level side to side, and especially on these old absorption fridges, they often really need to be perfectly level to work at their most efficient, so that could be part of the problem. I just plugged the trailer in. I'm going to switch this over to electricity and see if it does any better on electricity. So you can see there right now it's on gas. That's off, and if I push it in, I can turn past 12 volt and right to electric, which will get it running on the 110 volt. Thermostats are turned to max. I always have them on max. This fridge isn't that great, so it needs all the help it can get. So I think for now I'm going to screw the water pump down into place, maybe just with 1 or 2 screws, because I'll probably be removing it again at some point in the future. Clean up this mess I've created, put this back together so we can actually start loading it for our trip. I'm not sure if I've ever shown this on camera before, but Bella has what's known as a wet bath, and you can see why here. And basically all a wet bath means is that the shower and the toilet share the same compartment, so it's a great way to use space in the RV versus having a separate toilet area and shower area. And I know it seems kind of weird at first, and it took us a while to get used to it too, but once you're used to it, as long as you remember to take the roll of toilet paper off the wall and set it out here before you start your shower, it's not that bad. And like I said, it's a good use of space. We really like it, considering that, you know, the 13-foot bowlers don't typically have a toilet or a shower. It's a great little feature to have when you're doing those longer trips or longer weekends away. We don't use the shower very often, but it's nice to have when you do want to use it. And yeah, I mean, anytime you can avoid a public bathroom, why not? Moving on to the water heater. I was just checking out the anode rod here. A lot of people see anode rods in this condition compared to the bright, shiny way that they are when they're new, and they think they need to be replaced, but this just indicates it's doing its job, and this is what it should look like. This one here, starting to get a little thin on this end. Once you can start to see that center core, if I can get it to focus there, try that. Once you can see that center core, that's when it's time to replace it. So I can easily get another year out of this one. Now these things can be a real pain to get started with the threading because you have a very narrow spot to work in here. But I managed to pull it off even with my short, fat fingers. So just about, I got it in there hand tight. I'll see if that's enough. Sometimes you need to give it like a 1/8 or 1/4 turn with a wrench, but I'm going to see if it leaks by turning on the water to it here. So the water heater is still in its winterizing position, which basically means the water tank under here is bypassed. And if we open it up, I can show you that. So this one here uses a mechanism that has some back check valves, but you can basically see right now it's set up that the way these valves are set, this top valve and this bottom valve are configured so the water comes in. The cold's at the bottom. The water comes in and it's forced through this bypass line and then back out the hot line here. So what I'm going to do is reverse these valves, and you can immediately hear the water pump kicked in, because now what I'm doing is I'm basically letting the cold water into the tank. And then I need to turn this top one, and that will start forcing the hot water out of this top one and into this output line instead of through this bypass. There are different styles of water heater bypass. Some of them will have a third valve that runs between or is in that bypass line to cut off the water flow there. This one's just a 2-valve system. So we'll see if the water pump keeps running long enough to actually get that tank full. So it's an 11 or an 1/16 inch actually is the wrench that I need for this. And yeah, you can see there I'm able, once I put a wrench on it, I can actually tighten it quite a bit more. That should be good. I don't want to over tighten it, because the last thing you want to do is strip those threads. Basically, as long as the water stops, that's all that matters. So I'm gonna take one of our good trailer towels, don't tell Emily, and I'm gonna use that to just kind of wipe that dry there so I can see if we're still getting water. And we'll know soon enough. There we go, I got that tight. I don't see any more water seeping past that anode rod. Now let's turn this on, see if we can get all the air out of the line. Yeah, it sputters pretty good for a while that tank gets the air out. So, and in fact right now there's nothing but air coming out, but I can hear that pump working overtime to try and fill that water tank. I can hear it gurgling. And in fact, there, I was like, I can just about hear water starting to come out again. So there we go. Now it's running pretty clear and pretty steady. So we appear to have gotten the air out of the water heater. Turn it off, pump immediately stops, turn it back on. Pump kicks back in. And I'm not really too worried about getting every drop of antifreeze or every drop of air out of the system. We only use this water for washing dishes and things. We don't drink it out of the fresh tank here, so there's no real harm in having some antifreeze left inside of it. So now let's go back to playing with fire and see if we can get the water heater to fire up. So everything on this trailer is manual, so I have to press and hold down this pilot light, which will start the flow of propane to this burner assembly, and then I will attempt to light the pilot. So I can't do this with only two hands, so I'm going to put the camera down. I put the microphone closer, you should be able to hear that. Sometimes when it's daylight, you have to do this more by sound than by look. So I can hear that pilot burner's going pretty good now. I just have to keep holding this down until the thermocoupler heats up enough that it'll stay lit when I take my hand away. I'm going to try that now. And yes, that stayed lit. So now I should be able to turn it from pilot to on. And there we go. Now she's fully burning. So seal that back up and let it heat up that 6 gallons of water, and then it should shut off again. And it's unfortunate the anode rod takes such a large wrench, because this wrench barely fits in my toolbox. It always involves some sort of finagling and wrangling to get it in place. But having the right wrench to pull that anode rod if necessary is super handy, and I'd rather have it than not. So Mabel's checking a few things out. Emily's been gathering a few of the last camping things, but for the most part, we are ready. So that's gonna do it for this video, from getting Bella out of storage, through dewinterization, through some packing, through some repair attempts, all sorts of fun stuff. That's gonna do it. We'll see you in the next video.